LeBrie saying a quiet prayer at his sentencing today, convicted in August for sexually assaulting a 15-year-old freshman girl in the dark science building of their elite prep school. The victim breaking down on the stand. We are distorting her voice.
I was raped. I was violated in so many ways.
Prosecutors argued it was part of a so-called school tradition, the senior salute, graduating seniors spending time with younger students, sometimes intimately. They claimed LeBrie was trying to rack up sexual conquests as part of a game, but found him guilty of misdemeanor sexual assault and of using email and Facebook to lure the underage girl. LeBrie faced 11 years behind bars, but was sentenced to 1, afterwards embracing his family with a smile.
Tonight, anger and outrage after an Illinois judge decided to reverse his own decision in the sexual assault conviction of an 18-year-old at his sentencing hearing, now saying the 148 days he spent behind bars is, quote, plenty of punishment, and ruling the court will find him not guilty on all counts. Drew Clinton was initially found guilty of 1 count of criminal sexual assault of a 16-year-old girl at a bench trial in October, a charge that carries a mandatory minimum sentence of 4 years in prison. The accuser, Cameron Vaughn, identified herself to NBC affiliate WGEM. She alleges Clinton sexually assaulted her at a graduation party in May when she was unconscious.
I woke up at my friend's house with a pillow over my face so I couldn't be heard, and Drew Clinton inside of me. I said stop multiple times and he wouldn't.
We spoke to Drew Clinton's lawyer.
I think he wants the world to know that it was all consensual, that he was found not guilty.
Cameron says she hopes the judge's decision doesn't discourage other victims from coming forward. Court transcripts showing the judge placed blame on parents hosting teenagers at a party. Quote, they provided liquor to underage people, and you wonder how these things happen. Well, that's how these things happen. Vaughn.
The judge did make some comments that I don't think were subjective. I don't think that they were left up to interpretation. I mean, he did mention that the victim was wearing underwear instead of swimming, a swimsuit to swim, blamed parents for throwing this party and giving alcohol to kids. Everyone got some blame other than the person that he initially found guilty. Paul,
a former college student convicted of sexual assault breaks down in tears during his sentencing. 22-year-old Alec Cook had pled guilty to sexually assaulting 3 women and choking or stalking 2 others while a student at the University of Wisconsin. Diary was discovered that contained names of women he was interested in. It lists things like job/major, what makes her special, what's my next step, has it come to an end, and this eerie notation, killed, next to an unchecked box. The prosecutor says the diary is evidence of stalking and grooming. When the story first broke, Cook's high school prom date, Megan Couture, spoke exclusively to Inside Edition.
He threw me on a pool table.
were you afraid of him?
Yeah, I mean, he's really, he's a big person. I'm 5'2", and he's well above 6 foot, and he's just big and powerful.
Back in high school, he was known as Mr. Fingers.
He made sexual advances on my friend where he was just they were hanging out in her basement, and he would just try and stick his hand down her pants repeatedly while she didn't want to.
Though he faced a maximum sentence of 19 years, Cook was sentenced to only 3 years behind bars, partly because the judge took into account he did not have any prior criminal history.
Well, the truth.
One of his
Convincing this judge that this defendant didn't need to be sentenced appropriately. We believe that's unfortunate. We presented evidence that showed that this defendant needed to actually go to prison. In fact, we had asked for 10 years of prison time for the crime that he committed. Not only did he commit this crime, but it was committed in a public place, in a high school. And so, we are at the point, it boggles our mind that the judge would not only give him probation, but also blame the victim for what happened to her in this case. And not only blame the victim, but not put at least the normal conditions of probation on this defendant. As the District Attorney of Dallas County, we always put our faith and trust in the judges that we have on the bench. Unfortunately, this judge chose to do something that will basically damage our community for a long time. This individual actually admitted that he committed rape. It was not a contested hearing. The only issue that we had to deal with was punishment. And so from our perspective and the fact that there was an admission that this person committed this crime, we thought that the judge would be a little bit more responsible in her approach to making sure that our community was protected.
Gene, does it surprise you this was a female judge?
A female judge with 2 daughters, by the way.
Wow.
And what the district attorney is saying, the statement by the defendant, now a convicted felon, is absolutely horrific. He talks about how I wouldn't stop, and he talks about blood in his statement, and it is quite dramatic.
After Senate.
The judge didn't return messages left by the Associated Press, but she told the Dallas Morning News she questioned the veracity of the teen's story, saying she, quote, wasn't the victim she claimed to be because medical records showed she was already sexually active and had given birth. The AP spoke with the girl's mother, who says the girl has no child and had never been sexually active prior to the attack.
Interview with the Dallas Morning News, the judge implied the victim was promiscuous. She told the paper the victim had 3 sexual partners and had given birth before the attack. The victim denies she's ever been pregnant. The man was 18 when he admitted to raping the victim, who was 14 at the time. He could have gotten 20 years in prison.
I took her pants off and mine as well. She kept saying no and stop, but I just didn't stop. Under the Texas Rape Shield law, a victim's sexual history isn't even admissible in court. The victim, now 17, says she's disgusted by the judge's actions.
I was shocked that a judge, someone that I trusted with this case, would go behind my back and make these allegations that she knows nothing about.
It was an emotional day in court as the man who molested a young boy and killed the boy's father was sentenced. Edward Quintana will serve 21 years in prison.
In our community, the man who beat and raped a 101-year-old woman is sentenced to 3 decades in prison.
Today, a serial rapist in Detroit sentenced for sexually assaulting 5 teenage girls. 43-year-old Lionel Wells pleaded guilty to all 5 of the cases, which took place from 2007 to 2014. In each case, the sexual assault kits were uploaded to the CODIS database.
As for Lionel Wells, he's looking at a total of 25 to 50 years in prison for all 5 of those cases.
Parker is headed to prison for sex with young boys who were the children of family friends. Good evening, everybody. Justin Harville learns his sentence today after a plea agreement in which he admitted to sodomy and sexual abuse.
One of the 24-year-old Newport man's victims was 7 years old at the time.
It's a total of 13 years
imprisonment, Mr. Harville.
He committed 3 rapes. It was from 1999 to 2001. The detectives say that now 58-year-old Blankenship sexually assaulted a woman and 2 minors. Those minors, who are now adults, they spoke during the sentencing hearing that followed the announcement of today's plea deal. Their testimony was raw and extremely powerful, with both women clearly relieved the man who attacked them now going to prison. And for his part, Blankenship agreed to what's known as an offered plea. That means he's maintaining his innocence, been found guilty based on DNA evidence.
He was convicted of raping a dozen women in Fayetteville and Hope Mills more than 10 years ago. Today, he knows the price he'll pay for his crimes.
Green had a warrant for an outstanding felony. We're told his DNA was taken and matched that from rape kits taken from 6 victims. 23 years behind bars.
The 20-year-old told his victims, quote, "My bad."
NFL star, a Super Bowl champion, Darren Sharper, who played for the New Orleans Saints for Green Bay for Minnesota, tonight a much different image from the courtroom. Accused of being a serial rapist, cases involving 9 women across 4 states. ABC's Ryan Smith with what he said in court today and the sentence.
Tonight, former NFL superstar Darren Sharper is a convicted felon for drugging and raping women in multiple states. Authorities have charged Sharper with 9 rapes in 4 states, all allegedly committed after his playing days. They say time and again, he slipped drugs like Zolpidem, also known by its brand name Ambien, into his victims' drinks after a night out, then assaulting them while they were unconscious.
One of these charges based upon plea of no contest, just as though you had in fact pled guilty. Do you understand this?
And was sentenced to 9 years in prison.
Next year, in 2024, he'll be eligible for parole.
Darren Sharper's nomination for the Football Hall of Fame and whether he should even be considered since he is serving time in prison right now as a convicted rapist. Ron is here with more Dio.
Ray Caruth breaking his silence, speaking out from behind bars, apologizing for his role in the 1999 murder of his then pregnant girlfriend. ABC's Gio Benitez is here with more. And Gio, Ray also says he wants to be part of their son's life when he's released.
Yeah, that's right, Robin. He does. Caruth will be released in just months, and he wants custody of his son, the son who was almost killed in the shooting that Caruth planned, the shooting that killed the boy's mother. When Ray Caruth was arrested in connection with the murder of his pregnant girlfriend, police say he hired someone to shoot Sharika Adams. He was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, spending the past 17 years behind bars. His unborn son survived the shooting, delivered prematurely with cerebral palsy. Scheduled to be released this fall, Caruth is now speaking out from behind bars, taking responsibility for the crime and expressing desire to help take care of his son.
Man is not a good man.
Ex-NFL star Kellen Winslow Jr. will spend 14 years in state prison. In 2019, he was convicted of rape and later pleaded guilty to rape, indecent exposure, and lewd contact. As ABC 10 News reporter Rena Nakano shows us, the judge showed no leniency in his sentencing.
Disgraced former NFL tight end Kellen Winslow II listened via teleconference to 3 of his 5 victims, a then 59-year-old homeless woman raped by Winslow in 2018.
That man is not a good man. I don't think you know how truly dangerous this man is.
When given the chance to speak, the Charger legend's son offered no comment or apology.
CBS Philly.
A New Mexico foster parent convicted on 6 counts of rape will not serve any more time in prison. 64-year-old Manuel Preciado was arrested in 2015 after a 16-year-old foster son came forward saying he raped and molested him while he was staying in his Tucumcari home. Preciado took a plea deal and faced up to 6 years behind bars. Today in court, his attorneys argued the level of abuse was taken out of context and worried for the well-being of Preciado's wife if he were to be sent to prison. Judge Lewis McDonald sentenced him to time served and probation. The victim's attorney says the light sentence sets a bad precedent for child abuse in New Mexico.
22-year-old Austin Wilkerson was convicted of sexual assault and unlawful sexual contact. This all stems from a St. Patrick's Day party where he assaulted a victim in 2014. Court documents reveal he changed the story many times from the beginning of the investigation to the sentencing phase, but he did eventually fess up to what he did. But he still only got 2 years in prison. And now fellow students at CU are organizing, saying the justice system needs to change.
The police, a young girl found unconscious and bleeding in a Richmond park after being gang raped for hours. Tonight, Cron 4 takes you inside the courtroom as two defendants hear the verdict that could put them behind bars for the rest of their lives.
This is the Bay Area's news station. Cron 4 News at 6 starts now.
The verdicts are in for two of the defendants in the Richmond High School rape case, guilty on all counts. They have both been found guilty of taking part in the gang rape of a 16-year-old girl outside her high school back in 2009. Marcellus Peter, Jose Montano. They have been convicted on charges including rape and forced oral copulation. The incident happened outside the school during a homecoming dance. The victim had been drinking alcohol. Police say as many as a dozen men were on the scene when she was raped and beaten. Defense attorneys never denied the suspects were on the scene.
That was the most humiliating, scary.